ladies and gentlemen, to Talking with 3D. I am your host, Derek Durrell Dixon, and I am so excited for you to be here today. I have an exciting guest, my friend, Renee Newman. She is a spiritual life coach. I love having her on my show, what she has to give, what she has to input, the nuggets, everything that you're going to hear today is something that you can apply to your life, something that you need to hear, and something that we need to talk about. You know, we in the Black community especially, we fail to have conversation. And that's something that is very important, is that we fail to have conversation. Why? Because we always think that within the family, it should stay in the family. But it's time to realize that, you know what, it's time to talk. We have so many of our young children committing suicide. African-American boys between the ages of 5 and 12 are more likely to die by suicide. This is ages 5 through 12, bullying and social media. Nationwide suicides among Black children under 18 are up to 71% in the past decade. So there's an issue that we need to talk about. There's something that we need to do, that we need to learn how to have open communication, open dialogue. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So thank you for joining in Talking with 3D, because this is real talk with real people. And I want to welcome you, Miss Renee Newman. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, Renee is a spiritual life coach. I've been knowing Renee for some time. And I am just so honored that you are here with me this evening so we can just have a good discussion and talk about mental illness, suicide, and things that, you know, that we've been going through in the pandemic. I know both of us have experienced deaths within the last couple of weeks. So to deal with that, to get over it, and how do we get past it? So, Miss Renee, how are you doing? Thank you again for being here.
My pleasure. I'm doing good. I'm blessed. Like you said, you know, this is a very, very on-time topic to have, just considering the posture that our country has been in with COVID, on top of just regular life, and then having COVID have impacted it. Yes, I unfortunately lost my bonus brother 2 weeks ago. Today, 2 weeks ago. Very tragic loss, you know, in the privacy of his own home, and unfortunately in the presence of his 5-year-old son. He answered his door, and someone who had a grudge came in. They used someone who he was familiar with to get him to open the door when they knocked, and others just kind of bogarted in the home, and ultimately a fight ensued and he lost his life by gunshots. So it's very, very painful. So it is real when you're looking at grief and loss, depression, and trying to, you never recover from losing your loved ones, but how do you cope with it? That's really big. And learning when to stand in your truth and say, I'm not okay.
I'm not okay. Because Renee, how do we talk to this 5-year-old? You know, how do we, because a 5-year-old seeing this, their father that has been murdered right in front of their eyes, how do we have that dialogue? When do we know when to have it? Because this 5-year-old is going to carry this for life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know, what do you suggest because we have so many children now witnessing these murders and senseless shootings and things like that. So, you know, where do we begin with them to talk with them?
Yeah, it's very difficult because you have to look at the age and determine at what stage are we grasping that they understand death. Unfortunately, for this little guy, he lost his mom approximately a year and a half ago because she had some medical problems. And, she ended up, succumbing to her ailment. So my brother had just gotten him to understand that you're not going to see mommy anymore. And now this. So really helping him. It's hard to get a 5-year-old to understand that death is permanent.
Right.
It's very hard, and it is going to be traumatic.
Well, it's difficult to get a 5-year-old to understand to look both ways before crossing the street.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's definitely all hands on deck. This is where the village comes in.
Right.
Where you're talking to him, trying to get him to understand you're not going to see daddy anymore. I'm sure he's having ongoing flashbacks.
Right.
Seeing daddy answer a door. And when we hear someone at the door, I come down the steps too and sit on the step.
Right.
And my daddy is attacked and ultimately shot to death. So really just talking to him, getting him to understand, let's talk it out. Let's talk it out. First, let's identify your emotions. So we're talking about a traumatized 5-year-old, but this is where it starts even with us as adults.
Right.
Use our words, very basic. Use your words, understand your emotions. How do you feel in this moment? What did you see? How did it make you feel? So just really getting him to learn to be expressive and that it's okay to cry. And get him to understand how he lost his daddy permanently.
I think a big problem and an issue, again, in our Black families is being able to do that instead of just saying, you'll be okay.
Right.
Because that's our scapegoat. First off, we as adults, we don't want to deal with a problem. We don't want to deal with the situation. Well, who's going to tell them? Well, I'm not going to do it. You do it. Well, no, I'm going to do it. You do it. So therefore, the situation never gets resolved because the child never has had, like you saying, communication, the formal way to talk it out. And so therefore, again, we're walking around holding on to all this. I'm holding on to anger. Someone just killed my father. A lot of times our children, we get into certain situations because of what we've seen. And now we're trying to get back at society. So therefore, I think that we have to teach our Black families, it is okay to speak. It is okay to open your mouth. It is okay for therapy. And I think for therapy is so taboo. Oh, we don't go to therapy. We go to church.
Right.
And ain't nothing wrong with church. I am not talking about the church. I go to church every Sunday.
Right.
I know I need to call on the mighty power of God. I'm going to call on it.
Right.
But we think that a lot of times we think, oh, I'll take it to church. I'll take it to God. Well, that's where you start.
Yes.
That is where you start. But the thing is, listen to God, because then He's giving you the tools in order to say, now, this is what I need you to do to get through to what you're getting through.
Absolutely.
How do we get them to that place?
Well, first, as you stated, understanding that, as a culture, we didn't do therapy. Yeah, we talked to God and we kept family secrets. So we have to break those patterns that we've become loyal to and learn, again, just to say, I'm not okay. In addition to that, when you go to church and you praise God, you talk to the Lord. You got to understand there's a coping piece after the last words and benediction has been given, after you fellowship. You can have a good old-fashioned high time in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get home, if you start peeling back the layers of healing, those same issues are going to be waiting for you.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that there are so many that can give testament to, I went to church, I walked down the aisle and I got prayed over. Understand that the very thing that you're asking God for, God has provided.
Yes.
God has provided therapists, life coaches, peer mentors, whomever. You have to look at God sends healing in so many forms. And we just want to box God in to that one miracle. God's going to do the miraculous and it's just going to be lifted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he can do that, but there are tools where he knows all of his children.
Right.
So he can look at me and say, I'm able to do the impossible, but I want you to make some connections to get you healing.
Yes.
Somebody that is going to hold your hand, somebody that is going to teach you how to talk it through.
Right.
And again, if we can first start by acknowledging the many resources here on earth that God has placed in our laps for us to access.
And something that you just said, it was that the fact that, going to God, you have to be open to what God is telling you. And if you're not open to it, it reminds me of, there was a movie, a Tyler Perry movie, and I cannot think of the name of it. I was trying to process the name of it. But the young lady had been molested. And she went to church and she was getting her life together and giving her life back to Christ and everything. And she went to church. And the man that raped her was at the altar. And he was getting, giving his life back to Christ. Something had triggered within her. So all that came back, and she walked down that aisle and shot that man right at the altar. Because of that, you didn't get the help that you needed. Again, we're not saying that God is not the help. But again, what we're saying is God is giving you the resources to get the help.
Absolutely.
To get the help. And your prayers and everything should be for God to guide you to where your help cometh from.
That's right. That's right. And what I celebrate are those phenomenal church ministries who have counseling services right there.
Right there.
That is, if it takes the church, because we have a history in our culture of being very spiritual.
Right.
So if the church is a prominent figure in a larger percentage of the Black community, then the church is a good pinnacle to say, talk it out. We have counseling services. We have grief and loss, everything. Be able to find it in the church. So when the church connects with the community to provide that resources, then we as a people can move forward in healing. So you can get your prayer. You can cry it out. You can have a prayer counselor stand and hold hands and pray with you at the altar. But when the last words and benediction are given again, they can also walk you to a counselor or put a resource in your hand from the community. This is who we are connected with for you to get ongoing services.
Right. And that is so important. So by those that are just listening or tuning in, please don't think that I think that, prayer is not going to help you and the church is not going to help you. That's not what we're saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just like Renee has said, you have to continue on with the resources. Allow the church to help you with the resources. There's a lot of churches that have in-house counseling, in-house resources. That's marriage counseling, drug counseling. All of that is in the church. But you have to not be afraid to use the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we think, oh, we prayed it out. I don't need to go talk to Sister So-and-so. I don't need to go to the counseling session or nothing like that, because the fact we think we've worked it out. Mm-hmm. So if you're afraid to talk to someone that is within the home, the church, at your workplace, then you have to find somebody that you are comfortable with, that you can have this dialogue. Because if not, as Renee is saying, when you open that door, that problem is sitting right there on that couch waiting for you, because you haven't truly dealt with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we have to learn what true healing looks like. It's not, I'm numb to it.
Yes.
It's that I have befriended my experiences. And it sounds awkward to say that you're befriending your pain, but you're looking to say, what did I learn from it?
Right.
Sometimes we go through and we learn about ourselves.
Yes.
We learn that I couldn't have gotten through that on my own. We learn that we went through to help someone else.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that's where you say, okay, I went through that. It happened. Now what?
Now
we
what?
have to learn how not to be stuck in our pain, in our trauma.
Yes.
You know, some people literally get stuck. And then what happens is the ripple effect. It affects all of their relationships. They tap out of life.
Yeah, and it's so true. I am so able to now talk about it, because I think it's important to talk about it, especially for men to talk about it. You know, being a victim of being molested, 3-4 times, being molested by different people. And it changed my relationships with men, where I hated men. I couldn't be in the presence of men. And I grew up only wanting to be around my mother and my aunt and my female cousins, because of the fact I did not trust men. They could touch me and I would cringe. The smell of their cologne made me sick to my stomach. So that type of thing, it's so real. I never understood, Renee, why it took 10 years down the road for when we hear these cases come up, and I'll say Bill Cosby, these cases come up 10 years later and they finally are saying something. And I got so mad, like, why did you wait? But then I realized I was in that same boat. Why did I wait? Why didn't I deal with that then? But we suppress so much of it, and we don't know how to deal with it. Now it surfaces up. But it affected my relationships. Yeah,
we're walking around traumatized. We have to realize that we often blame ourselves for the trauma that was inflicted on us.
Why do we do that? Because we do that so much. What did I say? Did I walk a certain way? Did I say something? Why do we put it on us and we don't put it on the person, and they walk away like nothing ever happened?
It's passing on that trauma and making us feel guilty. And largely with childhood trauma, I know for myself, the keeping the secrets and the manipulation that is often associated with it. For me, it was, don't tell anybody, because then you won't be able to play or come over here and play anymore. So those are the things in my work with children. I teach them the dangers of secrecy. If an adult ever tells you that you can't tell your mommy and daddy stuff, you are not safe. And you need to make it known, because that is a red flag. Identifying the traits of an abuser, especially with children. And then it's guilt.
Right, it's guilt. I confronted one of the persons that sexually abused me.
Good.
But the one thing that hurt me, Renee, is that they looked at me and said, I don't remember that. Mm-hmm. And it, again, they try to put it back on you like, well, did this really happen? Mm-hmm. You know what? Why did I think that this happened? So, you know, I still don't know if I have healing from it, mm-hmm. but then in a sense, I feel I do because at least I know I was able to confront. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like they blocked it out because they haven't dealt with that mm-hmm. issue for themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to get right back to this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, what we're going to do real quick, we are going to take a quick break. And also when I come back, I'm going to give you guys some numbers and everything about sexual abuse. And then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about mental illness, what that is, what it looks like. So listen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Talking with 3D. Don't you go nowhere.
The 3D Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings awareness to autism by special events and community events like Stomp the Runway for Autism. We also specialize in health and wellness services, advocacy services, clothing and school supplies, food for families in need. Be a part and make a donation now at www.the3dfoundation.org.
If you're watching this with your friends, you'll probably make a joke.
Because you know what you feel on the inside
isn't what you want people to know.
If you have to pretend to be happy,
find someone you trust and tell them.
If you get mad at things and you don't know why, or have thoughts about hurting yourself,
find someone you trust and tell them.
You are never alone when you share.
Seriously, people care about you.
It's okay to not understand what you're feeling.
And it's easy to think that you're all alone.
But you don't have to be.
You're never alone when you share.
Don't be ashamed to tell someone you trust what you're feeling.
You're not alone.
You are not alone.
Find someone you trust and tell them.
Tell a parent.
Tell a teacher. Tell a brother or sister.
Or just tell a friend.
You haven't done anything wrong.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone. It's how things get better.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back with Talking with 3D. I am here today with my special guest, Renay NEWMAN, and she is a spiritual life coach, and we're talking about just mental illness, and we're going to go into our second segment, talking about mental illness, dealing with depression, dealing with the ways that we need to in society. You know, we've been talking about the Black community, but it's important for people in general to learn how to have open dialogue and conversations, because a lot of times I think that that's why we do have a lot of issues as far as we want to say the Karens in the world, that because the fact that we are afraid to have open dialogue. So I don't want y'all to think that this is just a Black thing, or we're the only ones that don't talk and we're the only ones that need therapists and everything. No, this is a society type issue. This is the world type issue. And there's a lot of problems in the world right now that we need to address. We need to talk about, and we need to bring different cultures together in order to have these conversations. So that way we can work out a lot of our issues. So we're going to go into talking about mental illness. And Renay, can you tell our audience what is mental illness?
Mental illness is a thought process that interrupts your normal, or what we would label as normal life functioning. Mm-hmm. Mental illness is inconsistent thought patterns that affect behavior. It can be a chemical imbalance. It can be induced by drug addiction, but it is an altered state of mind.
Okay.
That interrupts your daily life and affects your behavior.
So a lot of times, you know, I have a child with autism. He's on the autism spectrum. And a lot of times I always tell people that are on the autism spectrum are so smart. Mm-hmm. But it's the fact that they have so much going on in their head They just don't know how to pick out those pieces. And that's why we call it the puzzle pieces, because they're like, okay, I don't know which one to do first. There's just so much going on. I'm trying to process it all. I don't know how to bring it all together. But a lot of people think that autism is, I can't say that it's not a form of it's not a form of, to me, mental illness. So can you kind of decipher the difference between, autism, being on the autism spectrum, and mental illness?
Right. The diagnosis with that, again, when you're dealing with the autism spectrum, a lot of that, I'm sure, as you realize, is neurological. So that then falls under the medical side as well. And it's not just clinical, because their perception, some of the children, as you are aware of, are on the lower spectrum with autism, and they are literally genius.
Yes.
But their social skills may be completely off.
Yes.
They'll do a lot of isolation, but when it comes to their schoolwork, they can go right through it. They can excel. So autism isn't always clinical. It can be where they have social impairments. Some of them that are higher on the spectrum, that's when you get into your nonverbals and the sensory perception, the meltdowns, all of those things. That's just not a thought process or an altered state of mind.
Okay.
So that is different when you're looking at mental illness and you're looking at certain diagnoses along the lines of bipolar disorder, schizophrenic disorder, schizoaffective, the levels of depression with manic, suicidal ideation, all of those things that come with it. It is very different when you look at that. Now, when you have the combination of autism and
that's what I was going to say.
Impairments combined, that's when you can say full-on mental illness.
Okay, because there is a combination of both.
Yes.
Combination of both. And then we're looking at, okay, like you're saying, the bipolarness, things like that. So would what is it when they have to have everything in order? What is
obsessive compulsive disorder?
Yes. So is that can be a form of mental illness?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And again, where that begins to impair your life, you are so obsessed and you have a set routine. So those, and I'm sure we've seen those shows that come on, the name slipped me, but they break down those compulsions. Those who may wash their hands compulsively until their skin is damaged. They can't control it. It's like, okay, I literally can't control it. Someone may be a germophobia, but they're washing their hands excessively. There are so many levels of mental illness where you have those who pull their hair out.
Okay.
So the mental illness and the compulsion, it's like you are doing things to damage, harm yourself, and you can't control it.
You can't control it.
Yeah, you don't realize what I'm doing is damaging to me. I can't control it, but I need to do this. So anorexia, bulimia.
There we go. Right. And I think that we all have a bit of compulsive behavior because when I go to the grocery store and I put my groceries up on the belt, it bothers me when people just take their stuff out the cart and put it up there. It bothers me. Put it in some type of order. Your frozens go together. Your breads go together. Put your juices together.
Right.
So it bothers when I see that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Organize your groceries.
Right. Absolutely. I do the same thing. And as you saw prior to us starting, I have a little furry friend. So even when I'm grocery shopping and I get things for him, I cannot put his dog food or items in with mine. I have to have my groceries and separate his, just even for the scanning process.
Or the scanning process. Yeah. And then I put my stuff how I want it in the bag. So that way I figured, okay, if I put my juices together, she's going to put the juices together. And then she don't put the juice in it. I said, girl, I put my juices in so you can put my juices in.
Put your juice with your detergent. And
I have even gone so far that when I go to the grocery store, I have to park by where, and I don't know how far out it is. I have to park where you return your cart.
Right.
Because it bugs me that I see people just push the cart up on the curb or wherever. So I always park right by. I don't care how far I have to walk or anything, but I want to have easy access to the cart.
Yeah.
To the cart return.
Yes. We all have our own little.
We all have our things. We all have our dings.
Everybody, honestly speaking, everybody has a diagnosis. If you go through the DSM-4 and you look, you could say, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me too. You know, it's just like, stay away from Google when you're sick, because you'll come up with every medical prognosis for yourself.
And whatever they prescribe me, I am Google king. I got to Google that thing and see what's in there and what the side effect is. And I Google 3 different, and I do like different sites. But let me see if I say the same thing.
Absolutely. And see, we have those little quirks in our own little thing. I like it done this way. But when it interferes with your life, and if that whole, I got to park near a cart return, if you refuse to get out of your car
and circle and circle and circle and circle. No, I ain't going to do all that now.
But an OCD person, a textbook diagnosed OCD person would wait for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you see what would happen now. I'm looking for a spot and I'm not getting out until I can strategically park near the cart return. Look at how long that would take and how it would offset their day.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now I feel better now because I can't go that far.
Those are the little things that you look at and someone is saying, oh, you were supposed to be here at this time, or you had an appointment. How are you going to tell them I couldn't get that spot near the cart return? And it threw me off by half an hour because whoever was parked closest to the cart return was in the store for X amount of time and I needed that spot and everything gets thrown off.
Wow.
Sometimes that compulsion is a part of autism. The routine. The order. And I think I shared in one of our previous conversations, I met a 14-year-old on the autism spectrum, high functioning, socially awkward, very intelligent, but he had to do things in order. So if he's doing his homework, although he was very bright, if he got stuck on number 8, he could not move on. If his mom said, well, come back to that, just go to the next one and come back to that. He couldn't
do it. Wow.
Because it's out of order.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Talking with 3D. This is my special guest, Renay Newman. Listen, we're going to take another quick break real quick, and then we're going to come back and talk to Renay Newman about what a spiritual life coach is, how you can contact her, how you can get part of those sessions, and really get the help and the therapy that you need. So we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
Floor going up.
Alex, no, don't do that. Apologize to the gentleman.
I'm sorry. 15th floor going up.
Millions of people suffer from mental illness. It's not too late to get the help you need.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking with 3D. I am Derek Darrell Dixon, and with my special guest, spiritual life coach, Renay Newman. And we're going to tap into what a spiritual life coach is, how you can get the assistance that you need, and the sessions and everything, what that looks like, and how you can contact Renay Newman in order for you to have and work with her through these sessions. So Renay, tell us a little bit about what is a spiritual life coach, and tell us why you wanted to be a spiritual life coach.
Okay, a spiritual life coach. When I went to training to become a spiritual life coach, one of the first definitions that they shared with us that sticks with me that I will use forever. Just like in athletics, there's a coach. It is no different. So you have your basketball coach, your football coach, boxers have their trainers. They really teach you how to strategically play your position in whatever that sport is. A life coach helps you dig down deep inside and helps you to realize what's within you so that you can win and be successful in the game of life.
Okay.
And become the best version of yourself. You can be your own MVP in life.
Wow. So what made you want to be a spiritual life coach?
So my background is psychology and social work. So my bachelor's is in psychology and my master's is in social work. And I am a very spiritual person. I'm a preacher's kid. So I wanted to look at all the principles that I embrace that are important to me, working in my passion. And I wanted to encompass strengthening families. My focus is empowering families. So how can I do all of that on the clinical side? I can teach life skills, but we're not doing this on our own.
Okay.
Everything we do, we have to understand that we are guided by a higher power. And whomever you identify that higher power, I know who that higher power is to me. And I want people to connect with their higher power, to learn how to sit and be still.
How to sit and be still. Yeah. I think it's very important that you said that, Renay, is that whoever your higher power is, because I think people get hung up when they hear spiritual life coach. Well, I'm not a Christian. I believe in this and I believe in this. Whatever your spirituality is, it's important that you tap in to your higher power. Because at the end of the day, we all calling on that same person. We just call him something different.
That's right. And that's what's important, is that if you believe that there is a stronger, bigger force that is guiding you, I want you to align with that force, that higher power, to bring out the best in you and to help guide you. It's a sense of humility.
A sense of humility. So when a person is calling for a spiritual life coach, what would they expect? When talking with you, what is a day like with Renee Newman?
Well, what starts off is we set intentions. So when you come to a spiritual life coach or a lot of life coaches, there's a reason. If it's, I want to get grounded spiritually.
Okay.
So what does that look like to you? And what are you doing that makes you feel like you're not grounded? What's not working? Let's look at what's not working. And what is your ideal thought to get you on point? And when you think about getting grounded, what feelings does that create in you? And then how can we connect you to that force that will make you feel like I'm getting it?
Right. So let me ask you something, because I know there's somebody listening right now and they're saying spiritual life coach. That sounds, something like witchcraft, or that sounds like something. Tina
right. That happens a lot.
Clicking on, Tina Turner thing, clicking and everything, and all that kind of stuff. And that's you.
Yeah.
God bless you. So I ain't making, we ain't making light of it.
That's right.
People are, they want, that is something in their head. So they're thinking, what is the spirit? That sounds like witchcraft to me. So if I came and I was of a different religion of you, how would that work? Can I come in and say, well, I don't believe in this, but this is who I believe in. How do you then connect with that person?
Well, whatever their belief is, I teach them how to connect with that. And that comes from, we'll talk about meditation. There are so many different spiritual practices. So where we start is whoever you identify, God, the universe, Buddha, whomever.
Right.
We're gonna start with your spiritual practice. So I don't debate religion.
There we go.
What I do encourage and help any client establish is a spiritual practice to become at one with that higher power.
Right.
If you choose to call it God, Mother Nature, whomever. How do you align and become at one? How to sit and ask for guidance, to ask for that higher power to release divine revelation and peace. It comes through meditation. It comes through identifying a safe place, calmness. How often do you do it? Spending time with who you identify as God. Having a well-balanced relationship, knowing when to ask and when to sit still and receive.
Wow, when to sit still and receive. I'm going to tell you that when growing up in the Christian church, and I went to a yoga class. I was so excited to go to this yoga class, and I shared it with someone in the church. And the first thing they told me that's of the devil. You don't go to yoga, and you're opening yourself up to all type of different type of spirits and things like that. And so you're thinking, oh my God, what did I just do to myself?
Right.
Wrong. But to me, yoga is a form of meditation.
Absolutely.
So I think that there are different forms of yoga.
Absolutely.
You have to do your research and know what you're doing and everything. But I think people need to, again, you have to, what you just said, you have to align with, first off, your higher power and who you are.
Yeah.
And I think, we allow people to make up the stories for us, the narrative for us, So therefore, we, again, let's go back to saying we don't get the help that we need because of the fact we're listening to somebody else.
And allowing other people to force their opinions on us without researching or trying it. The one thing about meditation, yoga, it's healthy. And what I have come to learn, meditation, it's about the breath. Inhale and the exhale. That is life. You can connect with God, whomever God is to you, based on your inhale and your exhale, calming your body. People struggle. We're talking about mental illness. People deal with different levels of anxiety. And sometimes the calming effect of sitting and inhaling and exhaling, learning how to take deep breaths. With yoga, relaxing your body so that you can stretch. Some people actually need that for calmness, to stretch their bodies. People with different disorders, if you breathe and stretch, that is getting control of your body.
Getting control. And I'll tell you, when I came out of that yoga class, I promise you, for a whole week, I was in such peace. My whole life, I would tell you, I drove the speed limit that week. Cars were honking at me because
you were totally zen.
I was so zen. It didn't bother me that people were honking at me. It didn't bother me that I was taking my time in the grocery store. It didn't bother me because I'm like, these things are so minute. It's so minor that it didn't mean anything. But I was at such peace, and it was one class. I was at such peace of who I was. As I finally tapped in to who I was. And the spiritual part was, again, me understanding who God was to me and what he could do for me. And
absolutely.
So that's what it was important for me. So, as we are having this discussion, again, whoever, we're not, no religion is wrong, and this is not about religion, but it's about who you tap into.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I can't tell you you're wrong. You can't tell me I'm wrong. We all are on this earth for a certain reason.
Spiritual.
It's very spiritual. Yeah. And it's okay.
That's the thing.
It's okay. We were put on this earth to have differences. It's okay. Otherwise, we would walk around all looking the same.
And be a very boring world.
Very boring.
Just mundane.
I wouldn't know who to like. Well, you look like me, and I can't like you.
You look like me.
I got to love me all over.
Just the peace, the spirituality, the repeating positive affirmations. The sounds to calm you. People have muscle spasms and they use meditation. I release anxiety and I take on peace. I release fear and I take on faith.
Wow.
That's the whole spiritual, and you can feel it even if you're reciting scriptures. Inhale, exhale. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We're talking those things that you can just recite and breathe as you say it. Be it scripture, be it an affirmation. Anything to encourage you. Hey, I'm about to speak. I get nervous. What is it that you can recite to calm you? Having the ability to identify, this is what works me up, but this is what gives me peace.
Renee, let's explain to our listeners, our audience, affirmations. A lot of people don't really understand what an affirmation is and what an affirmation can do for you.
An affirmation is a supportive, positive statement that encourages you, that motivates you, that inspires you, that gives you that push. An affirmation that I always use the example, the little engine that could. His affirmation was, I think I can. I think I can.
Okay.
With a challenge as he was going up, I think I can. I can. I can. That's an affirmation. It is to conquer and to overcome negative thoughts.
Okay.
Affirmation will override negative thoughts as long as you recite them. Sometimes people put Post-its up on their mirror, their refrigerator. They have something to do. And sometimes people use the promises of God. What is it that God says about me? If I struggle with low self-esteem, so my affirmation, my spiritual practice is going to be to put Post-its all around. What does God say? I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am the apple of his eye. You know, those are the things. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding.
Yes.
As a man thinketh, so is he. These are the things. So I need to think better so that I speak better. So then my actions and my behaviors are better.
And let me say something to y'all is that your affirmations are your affirmations.
They are yours.
So you can say whatever you need to say to yourself. You can't sit there and say, well, I don't know if I can say, yes, you can. Fail you. If you wake up every morning, you go brush your teeth and look in that mirror and say, hey, sexy, that is for you.
That's your affirmation.
That is for you.
Beautiful. Look at yourself and tell yourself something positive.
Yes.
I have beautiful eyes.
Yes.
You know, those are the things. Another affirmation. We didn't think about it, but back in the day with Jesse Jackson. Yes, you can.
Yep. Yes, you can.
You know, when you
that's simple. It's those words that simple. And that's where that just gave me goosebumps. Because it's the simple things and we try to complicate it. We try to make this a hard thing. And all you have to say is, yes, you can.
Yes. And you have to defeat the negative thoughts that are in your mind.
Because somebody's coming behind you to say, no, you can't. You ain't sexy. You the ugliest thing ever. But if you keep every morning, because about 10 people done told you, no, you didn't get the job. You didn't get this. No, you're not good enough for this. But you woke up the next morning and said, yes, you can. Because your yes door is going to open.
That's right.
Your yes door will open. If you have to believe it, it's your affirmation. Make it your affirmation.
That's right. And spiritual laws and human laws are polar opposite. You have to think above the physical realm. As a spiritual being, I have purpose. So therefore, everything that I go through has purpose. Even my pitfalls in life, there is purpose in it. So when you are aligned spiritually, you realize that it's for my good.
For your good, yes.
This is the sandpaper.
Right.
You know, if we had woodwork class, when you're working on that project, you had to go through the different grains of sandpaper and before you got to the smoothing phase, but you know the project is going to come out good. So everything is to help develop your purpose.
Everything is to develop your purpose. Woo, if we had more time, I would go into, I got to bring you back because then we got to talk about purpose. Listen, Renee, tell everybody where they can contact you, social media, everything. Where can we contact you and how can we go about getting services with you?
Okay, I am definitely on Facebook, Renee Newman. That's RENAY. It stands out. Last
Yes.
name Newman. And my coaching practice is Dare to Dream Coaching and Consulting, spiritual life coaching, motivational speaking, group work. I'm here for all of it. And Instagram, I am fancy, the letter N, fabulous. Because I'm fancy and fabulous about life.
That's the affirmation. I know that's
That
right.
is an affirmation. And that's what I am fancy and fabulous.
Yes, you
that's
are.
How God made me.
Yes, you are. Oh my, thank you so much, Renee. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you. Again, I'm about to bring you back because we've got so much more to talk about.
Absolutely.
And again, I think that people seeing us have this dialogue, my prayer is the fact that we open up doors for families, for friends, husbands and wives, partners to have these discussions. It's very important. Let me also give you guys, this is the National Suicide Preventional Lifeline. It's 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. If you ever feel a need to reach out to somebody, reach out to that number. You now have a connection to Renee Newman. Reach out to her. So I just want to again thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for tuning in to Talking with 3D. And this is Real Talk for Real People. I just want to let you know again, don't see yourself one-dimensional. Always see yourself in 3D. I'll see you next week. Don't forget to tune in right here on IOM Network.